Why, hello everyone. How you doing? Welcome to Court of the Rings on twitch.tv/LocherStream. I'm your community manager, Cordovan, and I'll be with you for the next hour. Hanging out, we've got a lot to talk about. Plenty of questions, I am sure. We broke some news last week, did we not? Well, we broke some news in December, and then we gave you all the details. I think a pretty good set of details last Friday. So I'll be talking about the follow-up relief from last Friday's show with Severlin, which is on YouTube and here. If you want to take a listen to it, we go over our 64-bit server plans. I'll talk, like I say, about things that have progressed since then, the work that we're doing, and we can probably answer at least some of your questions here today. Also going to have the latest news. I'm going to give you a sneak peek at the upcoming Lotro Discord, and then we're going to head in game for the first time in a while. I've had guests on. We've had the holidays. I just got started kind of rolling into the new year and what have you. And so my actual play character for the stream on Landreval is quite a bit behind in terms of actually getting through Legacy of Morgoth. So we're just going to do some questing there to round out the show with whatever time is left. But we have a lot, I'm sure, that we can talk about for today's show. So welcome everyone, and thank you for being here. Yeah, I changed up my backdrop. I've really been rolling with the same backdrop that you've probably gotten kind of sick of for years now, really since COVID. And over the holiday break, I decided to change up my backdrop just to refresh it, to solve some problems with the arrangement of my living room and what have you. And so here we are. I'm still working through the kind of final tweaks to things, but there we go. So I'm drinking coffee. I'm drinking coffee in in my Lotro mug. Gosh, do I wish we could sell those to you, but we can't. Sorry. All right. I am looking at chat. Yeah, my cat is very happy with the current arrangement as well. I placed one of her favorite places to sleep right next to a heater, and that's always a good thing. So, okay, so the first thing I want to mention is that what we've been doing this week, a lot of what we've been doing this week has been focused on writing a frequently asked questions and guide for our upcoming 64-bit server transfers. We know that you have a lot of questions. We gave you a lot of answers in verbal form last Friday, but we're working to put it all to a page somewhere on lotro.com that's going to explain eventually when, what, how, where, what do I need to do? Oh my gosh, what do I got to do? I have to do, I have so many houses. And we're going to answer those questions for you in a FAQ that really was a big focus of my week this week. We had someone from QA, Tiber, Kellier. QA really helped out a lot with this. SSG branding did a lot of the kind of initial collation of things from our various help pages and that. But as you're well aware, I think, our help pages are pretty old at this point for transfers and housing and character. Like the copy itself is mostly accurate, but mostly ain't good enough for this kind of thing. So as part of this process, we knew we had to do it. We've been undertaking a task to get a good page up that'll really answer all of your questions, or at least most of your questions, hopefully, on this upcoming server transfer process. And it'll really be a home page to get all the information that you're going to need for this upcoming transfer period that we're opening. Because this is a new week and some people didn't watch, let me just real quick say that in the near future, we're going to be opening up 2 new 64-bit servers for North America and 2 new 64-bit servers for Europe. One of them will be a regular server. One of them will be a roleplay encouraged server. Both of them are going to be regular servers in that they won't have the Veil of the Nine mechanic, and they're going to be at the standard level cap. So just like the 32-bit, your current world experience, we're going to be opening these up in the near future. And as part of that, we're going to be opening a free transfer period from the 32-bit game worlds to the 64-bit worlds, where People are going to be able to transfer over for free for a pretty long period of time. Eventually, we're probably going to have to turn back on paid transfers, but it's going to be a while in the future once this process is done. Also, as part of this, afterwards, once this initial rush happens, we're going to be opening up transfers from what are called our dark worlds, our closed worlds from 2015 that people had about 3 years to transfer from before they were shut down. And we're going to be reopening one last batch of character transfers from these dark worlds to these new 64-bit worlds before those dark worlds finally go away for good. And there's a lot else that we talked about during last Friday's show, but I think that gets you the gist of it. So we're going to have 3 North American and 3 European 64-bit game worlds with the inclusion of our existing Angmar and Mortar, which are going to remain Veil of the Nine VIP worlds. So how much of a performance boost should we expect in terms of lag, skill delay, etc.? It's a complicated question. The answer is it's going to be the best possible experience. That's not to say it's going to be perfect, because one of the things that we have learned as part of this opening of Angmar and Mordor is that by removing layers of causes of lag and performance of that, we see other things to work on. So it has this overall impact of being able to have further clarity on what's left and then start hitting that stuff. And we know, for example, that there are still plenty of things related to the game engine and stuff that could use further work, data footprint work and other kinds of things. All that work has been happening and will be continuing to happen. But in terms of what the actual servers will provide, it'll be the best possible experience. So I think in general, people have found it to be a much less what would be described as laggy experience. Of course, we have the Veil of the Nine mechanic at Angmar and Mortar that we won't have on these other worlds and that as well. So, like I say, it gets a little complicated, but it's going to be better, and it's going to be the best we can provide. So. Will the characters coming back from the Dark Worlds be requiring therapy? That's a personal choice. I'm not here to tell you what to do. But let me get serious for a second and say there is one... there's not a catch per se, but there is one thing to keep in mind with these old Dark World transfers is these are old characters, and you're not going to be able to log into them prior to this transfer, because these are old characters that have been sitting in databases since forever. What, about a decade now? So there may be some items that are lost. There may be some things that don't come with you. You know, we're only guaranteeing that you're going to be able to transfer that character hopefully over to these new worlds, but we can't guarantee the state it's in, essentially. It should be in the state that you left it off in, but do you remember where you left it off 10 years ago and all the other kinds of things? And what about that one weird thing that you got in that one place? You know, we can't really make any promises on that. But this is still going to be cool because, I mean, you had 3 years to transfer from it until we closed them. And this is just going to give you another opportunity to do that. So hopefully this will be appealing to people. And at the very least, it'll be an archaeological dig, won't it? Because you'll bring back these characters and be like, oh, wow, I thought this character was way better than they are. Or, oh, I forgot about this thing. So it should be pretty cool. But there is going to be a little bit of, let's just say, kind of, if you show up and something ain't there, there's really nothing we can do about it. Is really the long and short of it. So, can Treebeard transfer? No. Our plan for Treebeard is to take a look at it when we can. We know that Treebeard's population is pretty low, but we also know that there are people who very much are enjoying the experience there. So the plan for Treebeard is to keep it its legendary world status, where it's getting its updates, and then probably similar to every other legendary world, once it reaches the level cap, we'll do a free transfer period from it. But that's going to be handled separately than this free transfer period. We don't want to complicate it too much, and we're not going to be transferring people to Treebeard because it is a legendary world experience that has its own kind of special sauce, as it were. But it is on our mind, and we know that there are people who would like to transfer from Treebeard. That will be happening. We'll take a look when we can, and probably Treebeard will make it to its typical legendary end. But ultimately, if we need to make a hard decision, say later this year or something, and the community is supportive of that idea, then perhaps we'll do something then. All right. Yes. Casey has a question about something that I haven't gotten to yet because we're talking about 64-bit server stuff rather than the public event schedule. So let me save that till later, but the answer is yes. I believe that account unlocks like fast travel are account based rather than server based. Is that correct? And if that is correct, then yes, it'll be there when you get there. Is there a limitation about why we do not allow people to transfer into the new server and block new character creation, at least for the first few days? We are, in fact, doing something similar to that. So the way it's going to work is that we're going to go for about a day where only VIPs can log into the new game worlds. In other words, get to character select screen, create and reserve up to 3 names, and that'll be the first 24-hour period. After that, we're going to have another period of probably something like 24 hours where transfers are going to be open to, free transfers are going to be open to all these new 64-bit worlds, but no one's going to be able to log in. So that is what you describe, where you'll transfer your characters over, but you won't be able to log in to get to CareGen. And then on something like day 3, we're going to just open it all up as expected. So that we're doing a staggered system to try to do the best we can with name reservations and handling this period. But we are, in fact, going to have a 24-hour period very similar to what you're describing there. The description is more complicated than the move itself. In some ways, you're not. You're getting to a real truth there. I am not in a position to put up my fact page for you for this Friday. I'm sorry. There's just a few too many details that we need to get to. I just don't want to put the page up. You'll see our comments and wait a second, what is this? But what about this weird edge case? But in general, I just described the process for transfers, and let me kind of give you a bullet point about what you need to know on a few things. So, I think everyone knows the name collision. It's going to be first come, first served. If you have a name collision, you will be renamed to a dash number, the number being the next increment of that character name arriving on the server. And then you'll log into the game world and you can have a free rename. This is the way it always works. You do / change name space, whatever you want your new name to be, hit enter, and you get a free rename. And that's how name collisions are going to work. So, what do you need to know about kinship transfers if you are a kin leader? Probably the most important stuff I would want to let you know is you do not need to disband your kinship. Don't disband your kinship. You must abandon or sell, but you want to abandon your kinship house. So, kin leader owns a kinship house. You need to abandon that kinship house in order to get 100% of the writ cost of the kinship house returned to you. Prior to this transfer period, that percentage was 90%. But for this special transfer period, we're able to up it to 100% writ return if you abandon your house. Don't sell your house. Abandon your kinship house. You'll get 100% of your writs back. So when then you transfer the character that is the kinship leader, the game will disband the kinship on the former world and reform that kinship on the new world. And it'll have all of its data. So other characters, when they transfer over to that world, once you've done this, will automatically be added to the kinship on the new world if they follow you. Bound items in the kinship house will be returned to their owners. Unbound items are placed into the kinship leader's personal housing, storage, or escrow. Depends on like the item and such. Any prepaid credit or unlocked storage in the kinship house is granted when purchasing a new kinship house on the destination world. My cat has an opinion on this. I think that covers kinship leaders. So, if you're just a kin member, you don't need to leave your kinship. You'll just be rejoined after you transfer. Any of your character-bound items that you put into a kinship house will be returned to you when that kinship house is abandoned or theoretically sold, but again, abandoned, don't sell. Any unbound items are placed in the escrow or personal housing storage of the kinship leader. So, what does that mean for you? Well, that means that when you transfer your character over in that kinship, if you want all those housing items, either put it on the character that you're transferring over or transfer over your shared item storage along with it. But you may not want to transfer your shared item storage right away because of reasons. So in that case, just make sure that the kinship house stuff that gets returned to you goes onto the character before you go over into the new world. In general, for personal housing, you don't need to do much of anything. All you really need to do is transfer. The belongings and the history of the house will go with you. When you log into the world, you'll have a mail that'll have all the currency equal to the purchase cost of the house. All your items will be in escrow housing, and character-bound items will be sent back to the character. So, again, depends. And then you'll need to purchase a new premium home with the writs you get, assuming you want to purchase a house. We know that neighborhood location and getting the same house and getting all your friends and everyone together is going to be a challenge. One of the things that we're hoping to do is to have as wide a neighborhood initial drop list, essentially, as we can. Typically, there's sort of a rollout that happens, and it tends to be a little bit smaller than we're probably going to need for this case here. So if we can, we're going to just have basically, I think we have something like in the range of 200 neighborhoods or so right now. And I think that we can set it, if not at 200, or at least quite a bit higher, so that the odds of you being able to get back to your regular house in your neighborhood are at least somewhat improved. I was reading on the forums today of someone who I really do feel for. They've got something like 40 houses across 5 accounts that they need to deal with, and I know that that's going to be a challenge. My suggestion is just a couple of bits. Remember that you don't need to do this day one. I know everyone's excited and we want to, but in those maybe more particular cases where you've got so much to sort through, maybe don't give yourself anxiety and try to get it all done day one. You'll have plenty of time to do this. And in fact, you may actually want to keep it on its old world anyway, because we're not closing the 32-bit worlds. They're going to stay open for as long as people are there. So, maybe take a deep breath and do a little bit at a time, or just give it a little time. The other thing I would mention is, yeah, there's going to be a housing rush right away. I think we all expect that. But per usual, those houses will fill up, new, fresh neighborhoods will open up, and eventually things are going to slow down a little bit. And at that point, you could probably either find a neighborhood that's mostly open or find a fresh neighborhood and do it after that initial rush. One of the things I like to do in real life is go to Record Store Day, which is this nutsoid vinyl collector crazy day. It's like Black Friday every time, where you have long lines out the door and people are scrambling and rushing to get all the rare, crazy stuff. But you can do that, or you could just, if the store opens at 8 o'clock, just show up at 10:30, strolling in, and just clean out the place. So maybe that's a strategic option for you as well in that particular case. So for non-premium homes, storage capacity, upkeep prepayments, ownership time, and grace period time are preserved and applied to the house you purchase on your destination world. Although there's some question about housing storage capacity upgrades. I believe the upgrades basically come back to you in the form of writs, even if you paid Mithril for them, and that's just due to the way the process has to be. So there's some question about that. But we're working through some of the final details here before it goes live. So really the recommended transfer order is this. If you want to start planning things out, kinship leader first, homeowners second, shared items third, other characters fourth. That tends to be the way that it goes the smoothest and easiest. Kinship leaders, homeowners, shared items, other characters. You don't have to do it that way, but that tends to be the way it works. The main things you need to know that don't transfer over, and maybe there'll be some questions and comment that I'll need to add to the fact, but I think pretty much this is it. In-game mail is not transferred. So all your in-game mail is going to get lost. That means detach those items if you've been using your mail for storage for whatever reason. It ain't storage, but people do it. So your in-game mail will not transfer with you. The other thing is that any auctions you have underway are going to just poof. So clear out your auctions before you transfer. Time it. Plan ahead. And I think that actually is a pretty good way to overview at this point. So let me go take a quick look at chat and see what we got. A lot of us would like to know if we can be refunded 100% of the purchase price of premium houses when we transfer to a 64-bit server rather than the normal 90% when abandoning a house. Yes, we are able to up that to 100%. That is something that we will be doing. Can I give any information about the quality of life update? We're getting into other topics of the news here, but sure. So what I can tell you is that that'll be the next update, and we tentatively have our first bull roarer for it set for next week. So that would be update 43. Our first bull roarer is tentatively set for next week. See what happens. No promises, but that's the thought. And you'll see a lot of the stuff that's in the quality of life update in the subsequent. If it's not in the first one, it'll be in the subsequent ones. And we've got at least 3 bull roarers planned. We also have a patch set for roughly around the 29th of January. That'll be update 42.4, our final point update of the update 42 cycle. That's tentatively set for January 29th, and one of the reasons I'm saying that date is that's also when Rowan Raspberry is going to show up. Coincidence, huh? It's almost like there's something build related we need to do. But anyway, that's happening. So that'll be January 29th, roughly, for 42.4. And then 43 will be out when it's out. And it'll be going into Bull Roar really over the next couple of weeks. There is no perfect way to do it. Retransfers, true. We have spent many hours, at least several hours, trying to hammer out the fairest, most equitable, smoothest, technologically supported way to make this all happen. And I have to say, I think we did okay. I think we did okay. This is the once, especially once you see it in fact form, you'll be like, yeah, it's not going to say it ain't going to be painful for nobody, but we did the best we could, and I think it's pretty good. I think it's pretty good. That is a good question, Mandalare. I don't know the answer about whether pet and mount names transfer with the character. I would think so. I would think they would. I can't specifically recall hearing that they don't transfer. So I would assume the custom, pet mount names would transfer. I don't know. Will there be a newsletter mailed to inform inactive Dark players about the upcoming changes and timely windows to take action? That's the plan, yeah. I would think that. I mean, well, I say that, but I think the reality is that we have a mail list that we're required to use that meets, all sorts of US and European laws and standards and things. And I don't think we can just sort of mass start mailing millions of people on old Turbine WB lists. So, no, but yes. We're certainly going to try to get the word out. And if you know someone who is of relevant interest, please do let them know for us. But we will be doing our best to get the word out as well. How long will the Hobbit presence be of the Yule kind? That will be going away, I believe, with update 42.4 on January 29th. I think that's the plan. We have to do an actual game update to shut off the Yuletide Hobbit gifts, and we haven't done a game update since prior to the holidays. So, do we also need to abandon a personal house to facilitate the escrow transfer? No. As a matter of fact, do not abandon your personal house. You don't need to do anything. Just it'll do it for you. Are there any updates to the birding system planned this year? Yes, there are. That was in the letter to the players released in December, but yes, I can't remember what our latest word on that came from either Orion or Sev, but I can't, I'm not sure if we're talking. I think we're talking both new birds and new regions with new birds. I think, but it may just be some of the same birds, some mix, something like that. But yes, there is an update to birding this year. What happens if you do not abandon your kinship house and transfer? My understanding is it won't let you. Kinship leaders must abandon their house, otherwise it won't let you transfer that character. Are free-to-play players going to be impacted differently by the server transfer process? Is anything different for them? I don't believe so. I think it in terms of account status, I don't think that really is relevant to anything involved in the character transfer process, other than, say, the amount of storage and such you're going to have available on your destination world, which once you start bringing over a bunch of characters, if you're going to do that, that's going to be a thing. So, yes, Olabeni, my understanding is that for house writ refunds, we're doing 100% for this. My belief is it already is 100%, but not when you abandon, but when you transfer. Because remember, you don't abandon a premium personal house when you transfer. You just transfer. And then it'll give you 100% back. Currently. If you abandon, you'll get 90%, but you shouldn't abandon. So. What's the ETA on? Oh, you're talking to someone else. So the ETA on the fact, if we can get it out next week, we will. But I don't know that we're going to. I mean, we'll see. We're in the throes of testing it all and saying, okay, now is this is right? Oh, and what about this weird edge case? But as soon as we get that stuff sorted out, we will be getting it localized and up on a page. So I would expect that in about a week. The LI reward track will not transfer with you. That is one area that we are aware of. The LI is on a per server basis, the reward track. So you're going to start fresh on the new game world, and there's nothing we can do about that. So if you are a kin leader that owns both a kinship house and personal premium houses, you will need to abandon your kinship house, and you should do basically nothing with your personal houses because you'll get refunded as part of the transfer process. I have not yet mentioned a release date for servers opening. We will have that information eventually on the page, although I don't think it'll even be there for publish. I think we're just going to say day 1, day 2, day 3 rather than put in the dates. But eventually those dates will be there once we know more. We're in a process to get it out as quickly as we can, but we also do need to do deliberate, careful work to make this all happen. So the timeline is moderately flexible, but soon. This is what we're doing right now. So we'll have more information on the release date of it soon. Sorry to say soon too much, but not today. The question about name reservations and opening up being divided into EU and NA friendly times. Well, I think the intention is that they will all open probably at the same time. I don't think we're going to be able to stagger the US and EU. However, remember we got a 24-hour period here. So everyone's going to have 24 hours. So whatever time zone that's going to work for you, you'll have that 24-hour period for which to do the 3 name reservations that you want as a VIP. You should not need to empty your carryalls. They should come with you. Lyran, 1986. If you have quests with detached or items that need to be detached, then you should do that prior to transfer. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how that works. Maybe you might need to... Yeah, I don't know. Cancel the quest if you can, but just pick up that stuff. Clear out your mail. Clear out your mail. Don't let that stuff sit. Creep characters can transfer, yes. My understanding is creep characters can transfer. I think there may be a question about that, though, on day 1. And the reason for that is we can't, there's that pretty significant edge case where you may have creeps on multiple servers and you can only have one creep on your destination world. So that's an outstanding question that we actually have been speaking about in the past hour and a half. I don't have an answer for you yet, but the answer is eventually creeps will probably be able to transfer, but it isn't clear that we're going to be able to enable it for day 1. However, for name purposes, you'll certainly be able to create a character and grab the name that you could then delete or rename or whatever as needed. I don't know what you mean by, do we know about plans for about the end game changes? What do you mean about the end game changes? I would like to know more, Imagor. Just make sure you fill out bug reports about the bugs in the Morgoth instances. I know QA probably has a list. I have been busy on other things. I am not aware of the current state of the new instances and any bugs that are remaining to be worked on. It's been a busy couple of months, so that's not an area I specifically have been focusing on, other than to make sure that QA and that is aware that players are saying that the instances are bugged. They're not providing detail, but they're saying the instances are bugged. So please do provide said detail and pass it along. Not to me, to QA through a bug report, please. Yeah, it's one of the LI reward check thing is one of those things where it's a bummer and good depending on your personal scenario. Because yeah, that means you're gonna get the stuff again. I don't believe that's a good question. I'm going to write that down about the friends that ignore list. I believe that is per server, right? So I do not think that your friend or ignore list will carry over, and I will just have to add that to the FAQ. If the kin leader does not own the kinship house, then my understanding is that what I said is not relevant. I will have to double check on the advice we want to give. I don't know if it's treated like a regular premium house in that case, or if they need to abandon that. I will make sure that gets in the FAQ as well. Tyrion, why would you plan for Treebeard to be treated the same as, like, Landreval? We've always been pretty clear that Treebeard is a legendary world. And so it'll be treated like a legendary world rather than a non-legendary world. So in terms of transfers, I don't know why there would be an expectation there. We've never done it before for active worlds. Did I say that the name reservation process will be VIP only? For the first 24 hours, correct. For that first 24-hour period, VIPs will be able to reserve up to 3 names. And that's how it's going to work. There's a whole bunch of reasons why, for that first 24-hour period, we opted to make it VIP. Not only does it, support our VIPs, but think about what would happen if it was all free accounts, right? People can make free account after free account after free account after free account and get over that 3-name limit. And we have that 3-name limit to try to curb the ability of someone just to grab everything and do other problems that can happen. So that's why it is the way it is. However, on day 3, when the world opens, everyone's going to have the same opportunity. It's just for that first 24-hour period that VIPs are going to have an opportunity to reserve up to 3 names on the new world. My understanding, Imagor, is so it gets a little complicated. So in terms of transfers, can we transfer from a 32-bit server to another 32-bit server for this period for free? No. My understanding is that you'll still be able to transfer through a paid transfer, just like you always can. But for this free server transfer to 64-bit servers, it's not going to be free to go from 32-bit to 32-bit. Hey, I actually caught up on chat. What do you know? All right, well, let me get to just a few more bits then. There was something that got called out early on in the show that I did want to address as well. And I did want to give you a look at the Discord here, too. So, first, let me put up the. If I can figure out how to do it. There we go. So, this week, the other thing I did is I got our public event schedule done and published. So, awesome. Good going, me. Sorry, it's late. But anyway, that's out now. So you can find that in English, French, and German over on Lotro.com. As someone pointed out, we only have which is the one we have? Here we go. Angmar. What happened to it? Here we go. Angmar Mortar Cap going up to 65 with Mirkwood around April 30th. Around April 30th, we'll be having our next level cap increase for Angmar and Mordor. The rest of them are not in the calendar. I was like, because they're tentative dates, because remember with Angmar and Mordor, we're rolling it out not on a hard schedule, but on a organic schedule to gameplay. So, but we are here to say when the next one is. And the next one will be up to 65, and that'll be April 30th. But you can see, however, the Treebeard cap is also going up here in May, and some other things here as well. Find out when all of our festivals and such are. We don't have the virtue increases this time around. I never got the info, so that's what it is. And then you can see even by end of the year here, Treebeard's going to be up to 120 with Veils of Anduin. So there we go. But the public event schedule, it's a nice thing to have. Certainly players seem to enjoy it, and it's not a small amount of work to get it all done. It all got done this week. So between that FAQ, this, and the thing I'm about to show you, this is what I did this week. So, Tyrion, we acknowledged last week that Treebeard's population is quite low, so it feels fair to allow transfers. So, what the thought would be probably not to do this during this big land rush. Treebeard is in a fine place to stay where it is right now. If we end up needing to reevaluate later this year on Treebeard, in part due to player requests, then we can. But we're not going to sort of jam that part of it into what's already a moderately complex undertaking. Adon, my understanding is as long as you do a shared items transfer, the shared items should transfer. If that's not the case, let me know. All right. So, this is in a not final state. This is just sort of where it is today. I'm still doing some work on it. The localization has not been done in part because I need to read it in English while I'm setting up all my permission sets and things like that. But here's a current look at the state of the official Discord that will be opening here probably within a couple of weeks. I want to get it done in time for what I just said, for all these transfers and everything. I think it'll be good to have an active real-time place to communicate. Even the forums does that too, but this will be even better. But I wanted to give you because it's mostly there. It's about 80 to 90% of the way there. And this week I took about 30 moderators who had applied through the moderation program and sent all their names to a lawyer, because we have to draft an NDA for these folks as part of the company policy and to some level backed by international law. So we have to make them sign an NDA. And so they're going to sign an NDA. And once they do that, then I'm going to onboard them here to the Discord. And then once everyone's settled and things are looking good, we're going to open this. So depending on the timeline of that, I'm thinking within the next couple of weeks. So let's take a look at this thing today. It's a pretty long channel list, but remember, you can actually pick your own display kind of based on what you want to do. I don't know if I can Let me see if I can see the show all channels and stuff. There's ways to actually show your display or pick what you want. So I'm kind of opting for more rather than less. When I opened up the Dungeons and Dragons online Discord late last year, I had set it up to be as visually clean as I could because at the time the feedback was, oh man, there's just too many channels. There's too many channels. But then when I found in practice, similar to the forums, once everyone was in and all the players were talking, I was getting asked to make channel after channel after channel. And so, and people are like, why did you make it so I can't see this thing? I just want to be able to see the thing. Why did you make it so I have to jump through a hoop to see the thing? Just let me see the thing. So I'm taking those learnings and just going to let you see the thing. For the Lotro side here. But that does mean that you will be initially presented with a pretty moderate list of channels here in English. This you will not see, this moderation and bots, but I can show it to you now anyway, just because to help you understand what's going on. All the moderators, along with myself and people on the SSG side, will be able to see this section of the Discord. Moderator only is a place for us to discuss whatever needs to be discussed in an active real time. If there's an incident going on, if there's a question from one of the moderators, it's like, does this break the rules? Do we need to do something? And a place to escalate things to me. Frankly, it's like, hey, so and so's being a jerk on aisle 9. Can you do something about it? So that's what that moderator only chat's about. Moderation activity is really for me to track all the actions by moderators. Every time a moderator does something, it's going to create an entry in that thing, and I'll be able to see what's up. Bot activity is really just related to all the bots that we use for Discords, and that just funnels in all the join messages and leave messages and anything else into that channel. And then timeouts, warnings, and bans is a repository for it'll happen eventually. A place for moderators and myself to post in ban and warning and timeout messages. Why did this person get warned? Why did this person get timed out? And it just will basically copy paste the offending text or whatever into there and say what's up. So the official SSG side, this is what you'll start to see here. We have all three set up as announcement channels. So announcements will be the stuff that you see on the forum under announcements right now. It'll be things like Lotro bonus days. Hey, this festival has started. We're announcing 64-bit server transfers, that kind of thing. Sales and promotions is going to be exactly what you think. Our weekly sales and any kind of one-off sales that we do. Anything that's related to sales and store goes on sales and promotions. And then all of our weekly downtimes or other downtimes we need to do, if there's any unexpected issues that we need to address, that's going to be in service news and bugs. And the thing about these announcement channels is you can follow them on your own Discord. So all of your kinship Discords or server Discords, private Discord, whatever, any other Discord could just follow it along, and it acts like a news feed. And it'll news feed into whatever channel you set it at to receive. So that's why it's set up that way, is that it's proven to be super duper awesome and probably even better than the game launcher over on the DDO side. And I think people are going to make good use out of that. We head down into our main channels, and the welcome channel is simply going to be populated with, hey, so-and-so joined, welcome. And that's that. So we have new players, general, creators and streamers. The way this works is I have a content creator role that I can use in the Discord. So anyone doing Twitch, YouTube, any kind of content creator, streamer, I could give you a role and then you can post in here. I think I actually just have it set for open posting right now because it hasn't been a problem on the DDO side. But the idea is if you're a content creator, this is where you can post your stuff. And then also for Lotro Stream, all of the shows on Twitch here, when they start, is going to get an auto message in creators and streamers. That's why that's active right now. You can see Lotro Stream every time we go live. Like this one. Just shows up in creator and streamer. Player events is a place to discuss player events, although now that I think about it, I may actually do an adjustment there, and I'll explain why in a second. Suggestions is, hey, you know what you guys should do? Bugs is, hey, dummies, why is this thing busted? And then off topic is off topic. It's for everything not Locha related. So then I've got a section on player chat. This is for kinships and recruitment. Basically, anything kinship related can go in here. Trades and auctions, any kind of trades, auctions you want to do. LFMs and grouping. Hey, I'm looking for people to help me do X, Y, and Z. Crafting, housing, legendary items, and PvMP. We have a very clean section at the moment for the Bull Roarer forums. This will be populated with new channels depending on what it is we're previewing. And then we can archive those as well. And then I got the game worlds. This is also why I've got a lot of channel spam. For the game worlds, I actually am going to keep a role. You'll be able to see all of these. But for the membership list on the right, you can opt into what worlds you want to be associated with. And the first one alphabetically is where you're going to be placed on the list. Same with classes. I kind of didn't want to do the full class list as channels, but I was convinced, really due to my experience on the DDO side, that yeah, you kind of have to. Trying to deal with tags or whatever just doesn't work, and people want the full class list. So we have the full class list here, and then this is the other part I wanted to call out. Voice channels. I'm using a plugin that lets you dynamically create voice channels. This is easy LFM voice chat for those who don't want to do in-game. Maybe don't have another solution or doing general LFMs. You can link to it. So you could just grab the link, put it in world chat or party chat, fellowship chat, and they'll just follow the link and then they can join your room. You can even name the room something, I think. I can. And I think I have it set so that you can too. And what have you. So you'll just create a voice channel. And then when you leave... Oops. It'll just sort of auto do stuff for you. So... I think I maybe have to... It's confused because I'm live streaming here. I'll double check that. But basically, you'll just hit the button. It'll dynamically create channels for you. And that's all you need to do. Okay, looks like I still have a permission issue to sort through. That's fine. All right. Either way, I'll get that sorted. That's how that's going to work, because that's how it works on the DDO side. It doesn't get as much use as I thought maybe it would on the DDO side, but it's really useful as a way to just get people going there. And then I've got general lobby. But then here's the other bit. And that's why I think I'm actually going to take the player event text channel and move it down to the player events section. I figure player events is something that we need to deal with for the Locha Discord specifically. So I have got a player events staging channel, like an actual Discord stage. We'll see if anyone wants to use it. Maybe no one will care, no one will want to do it. But in theory, you should be able to just share your screen into a player events thing once I give you the player event organizer tag. And then you can just stream your video from the gameplay. People can watch on the Discord and chat in the Discord and that if they can't join you in game. That's the way I'm hoping it'll set up, is that we'll just have a player events channel. There's a player events announcements channel, and you can see this also is an announcement channel so that people can follow it on their own Discord. So if you've got an event going on, bang, there you go. And anyone who's opted into the receiving that message will be there. And then I've got a forum. I've set it up as a forum. Which is not, as you can see, not quite set up yet either. But a forum for people to organize events as they need to. And then I'm going to have a text channel for general gen chat, as it were. Then, this is where it gets spammy. But I've got it organized for English at the top. But I've got also German and French. And so I've mirrored... well, almost mirrored. I will mirror before I'm all done here. All of the functionality that you just saw on the English side for the French and the German channels as well. We'll see how busy it gets. I want to leave as open and equitable as I can right away. It could be that we'll see a lot of German players and maybe not so many French folk to justify the size of the channels. It may be the opposite. It may be whatever. But I wanted to give a chance for German and French players, of which there's a lot of you, to speak in your native tongue in our Discord. So I have some French and German moderators who will be helping out as well. And that's there. I can't prevent English people from being able to see all the channels, but I do have an opt-in at, well, actually I do have it at the start, but if you show all channels, I can't stop it from being displayed. But on part of the onboarding process is, hey, which sections do you want to see? English, French, German. And you'll click on it, and depending on what you click on, those will be populated as default channels for you. And that is really where we are right now for the current state of the Discord. I would expect it will have little to no impact on communication and other public channels. That said, one of the bigger criticisms we've received has been, hey, how's come Orion and Onmac Mahal are speaking in X Discord rather than the forums? And so, and part of that is they really enjoy the kind of live time interaction. And I would expect to see that here rather than there. But in addition to there, I would expect people to continue to converse with wherever they want to, like usual. Will we pay premium to update Discord privileges? Well, we're not paying you. We're not buying you Nitro. But yes, I think there is a small budget that's associated with this. Oh, and you like that? Yeah, the one turtle? I had to figure out what to call it. I went with the one turtle. I thought it was pretty good. So, no, the Discord is not yet open. You are seeing a closed Discord that is in the process of being opened. I can follow up on Treebeard. I know there is a request for us to maybe open servers there. My understanding is the answer is we don't intend to do that for launch at this time, but we're not there yet, and we have a lot yet to sort through and think about. So perhaps there'll be some movement there, and if so, I'll let you know in the coming weeks. So, Bodacious, back to a 30 or a 64-bit server question. In the way it works basically with everything, with a few exceptions in Lotro, is that things will go into an overflow state. So if you transfer over, the amount of stuff going in is higher than the amount that you have unlocked, it'll be put into an overflow state. And you won't be able to add to that overflow state until you withdraw to get under your account limit based on whatever it is. So with almost everything, with a few exceptions, that's how it works. There's a few things like Figments of Splendor and such that we need to figure out yet, if we can, that do have a hard cap. But for the most part, it all just goes into overflow. And yeah, we're going to have some big overflow storage things happening here depending on how much characters and stuff gets transferred over. And there is a display limit eventually that we've run into where if you have more than 10,000 items in a overflow state, some of it won't display, but it'll still be there once you pull enough out for it to display. But that's a real edge case that we probably will encounter here, but it'll still fine because all you have to do is pull out stuff. I'm sorry about your issue there, Schmooze. I don't know. I have no insight into that. Sorry. All right. Well, we are at 1 o'clock. My understanding is Tolkien Professor is not here today, so I can go perhaps just a few minutes longer as needed. I would mention that we have a 25% XP boost going on through the 20th, going on through Monday. So there we go. Anything new for the skirmish event in end of the month? No, I don't believe so. It is going to be a return to the skirmish event, but that is that. Let me check a couple of pieces of chat here. So the only other bit I would mention for news, where am I here? It's January. Okay, so yeah, I mentioned 42.4, Rowan Raspberry beta. Yeah, okay. Well, I think I've pretty much covered all the news that I was going to cover today. We've run out of time for gameplay. I guess poor Stampion's going to have to just stay a little bit behind. Programming note: I will not be here next Friday. I apologize. That's part of the reason I wanted to do the discussion about the 64-bit server transfers today, even though our FAQ was not yet published, because I'm not going to be here next Friday. I'm actually going to be out on a personal mission. Very off topic, but I'm playing in a video game tournament of which there is a cash prize, and that should be pretty interesting. It'll be my second year doing it. Last year, I was number 2 in the world for this championship. It's it's a retro-ish kind of game, but anyway, whatever. I'm not getting into competing titles or anything. Not that it's a competitor. Either way, I'm going to be out doing that next Friday. See if I can win myself some money and have a good time. So I will see you then in 2 weeks for the next Court of the Rings. Oh, I did actually see that chat. You know what? Let me answer the question here if I can find it. And that is, what is my favorite vinyl record in my collection? That would be this one. Speaking of video games. This is actual. This is the coolest one in there. It's an actual retro. Like it's the game. It's the sound. It's just the raw sound from like Galaga and Miss Pac-Man and things like that. And the record itself is somewhat Pac-Man shaped. It's clear there, and it's got this cool cover bit where it slides out, and it's replaceable. So you can actually select which game gets displayed. Now, how sweet is that? Isn't that neat? So anyway, that's the answer to that off-topic question. Thanks for watching Court of the Rings here on Twitch and YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, I really do appreciate it. Give us a like and a subscribe if you would. It really does help out the channel. I will see you all in Twitch chat in 2 weeks with more Court of the Rings, as we roll into a pretty busy first quarter here and a lot of exciting power moves happening here in the Lord of the Rings Online. Thanks for being a part of it, everyone, and I'll see you again soon.